Welcome to number 3 when we're talking about sales. Today we talk about handling objections. This is the number 1 killer of sales, not just from a salesperson's perspective, but a customer's perspective as well. And that's because you perceive objections to be something completely different than what they actually are. An objection is just a question. So when somebody says, I think this is too much for me, people will go, they can't afford it, I may as well just walk out and find somebody else, instead of truly trying to find out what it is that they're saying. So today I'm going to teach you a 3-step process on how to overcome any objection that's thrown at you. So let's start talking about the process. So the process is EQC, empathy, question, close. So let's look at how you can break that down when somebody gives you an objection or asks you a question, how you can use that simple 3-step process. Now, objections tend to happen at either the beginning or the end of a sales presentation, whether that's on the phone, whether that's over email, some people are doing it, whether it's online or face-to-face. The key to overcoming an objection is 2 things. 1, anticipate it. It's going to happen. And 2, being well prepared to handle the question. So a good thing that you might want to do is, what are the 4 or 5 different objections that you tend to get most of the time, and how can you write a step-by-step process on how to overcome them? Sometimes the best sales books in the world are actually not books about sales, they're books about something completely different. Now, Stephen Covey wrote a book called The 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, and one of those chapters is seek first to understand before you're understood. And I would say that's so true when it comes to objection handling. The key is to understand what the prospect, what the potential customer is saying to you. So just because they say, I don't think I can afford it, doesn't necessarily mean they haven't got the money. It's how you interpret that, which means that you probably say the complete wrong thing. So the key with objections is first and foremost understanding. And let's look at how you get there. So the first thing you've got to do is to empathize. It's okay to understand where they're coming from. What you don't want to go is to go straight back with a question, because if you start questioning people, it can be quite confrontational. By using an empathy or a question softener, what you'll tend to find is your conversation will flow much easier. So just to give you an example, if somebody was to say to me, you know what, John, this sounds okay, but I don't think we can afford it, my first response would be, you know what, I completely understand why you said that. In fact, most people say exactly the same thing. Would it be okay if I was to ask you a couple of questions about that? What do you think somebody's going to say to me? Do you think they're going to say, absolutely not, you can definitely not ask me any questions? Or do you think they're going to say, yeah, sure, you can ask me some questions about it? Now, what's important for you is you've actually got some questions that you can ask them. Don't just stick there and go, well, John hasn't told me what questions to ask yet. So it might be, what is it about the product? What is it about the service that you think is too expensive? Or is it that you think it's too expensive or it's out your budget? Or if we could make it more affordable for you, maybe over a 3 to 6 month time period, is that something that is worth considering for you? So document 2 or 3 different questions that you can ask them. And the questions always must be forward moving. So it's not, I understand why you said that, why didn't you tell me before we met? Because that's going to get into an argument. What you always want to be doing is looking at how you can progress the relationship 1 step further by understanding what they're talking about. And the third thing that you've got to focus on is the closing element. This is what everybody misses out. They'll get some feedback from somebody and just move on with their life instead of actually closing and moving on to the next stage. When we're talking about closing, it doesn't mean to seal the deal, to close the relationship, to take the money. Closing is really moving from one stage to another stage. So it might be, let's use affordability as a good example. Thanks ever so much for letting me know, and I completely understand why you'd say that. Most people say exactly the same thing when I first meet them. Could I just ask, do you think it's expensive, or is it that you just not anticipated it being so much? I didn't anticipate it being so much. Great. So if we could work something out where on a payment plan which would make it a little bit more affordable, would it be something that you consider moving forward with? Yes, it would. Fantastic. So should we look at how that might look for you? That's the closing element. So at that point in time, you're talking about how can you process payments for people a little bit better. So they're the 3 stages on how you can overcome any objection that's thrown at you. Empathy, question, and close. please type below, what are the common objections that you get that you find really difficult to overcome? And I'll respond to every single one with what you should be saying. See you on the other side. Well done for staying to the end. Not many people watch videos till the end, and this should be a lesson to you all, because the people that are still watching right now, you've got something that nobody else has. We've been talking about sales this last month, and I get it's a really difficult topic, so you can watch a video, but doing something about it is difficult. We spoke about getting the right sales process in place, how to get rapport, and the 4 different personality types that you're going to encounter in your sales presentations. We've talked about objection handling, and next week we're going to be talking about closing. For one lucky person, I'm going to give you a 90-minute consultation just on your sales process that's going to double your sales in the next 12 months. All you've got to do is email this email address, info@actioncoach.co.uk, with subject line, double my sales, to be in a chance with winning. If you're not in the draw, you're definitely not going to get it, so make sure you email now. That's a 90-minute one-off bespoke consultation just for you on how to double your sales in the next 12 months. I look forward to speaking to you soon.